Welcome back to Blast R6 EUL. It's phase 2 with me, Ian. We got the biggest brain in the game, Fresh, and the fantastic Frenchman that is the former pro Alfama here, ready to get right back into it. We are halfway through play day 1, and there's still plenty more to come. We've got some really strong fixes. The last 2 should be bangers. G2 versus Fnatic. On paper, it's got all the ingredients for something pretty cool here. Before we talk about it, right, let's meet G2. Just remind ourselves why I like to call them R6's rock stars. People take note. When these guys are about to do some business. And, you know, I call them the rock stars. You only see them on camera. They are rock stars. Just trust me. That's all I'm going to say. And they have shaken things up a little bit, Fresh, coming into stage 2. Their player personnel, a little bit different. I want you to talk about it because I know that you've got a strong affiliation with G2 when it comes to, you know, your past and stuff. But Leo, you're not sold, right?
No, I'm not sold. And that's why I'm super eager to see if actually I have the wrong opinion about this roster change. Because I think, like many people, one of the first things I mentioned about G2 and taking a new direction is that I felt like they could either remove the IGL and the head coach and change completely the vision, or they could remove 2 players that were problematic to buy into that vision because it felt like they were meshing well together, and then bring 2 newer players that could be molded into that vision. And they chose the latter, and I was surprised because you removed Benja, a South player, who was the MVP of some of the most, if not the most important tournament in Siege history. And at the same time, you remove Virtu, a backline that has been their lifeline for so long, that saved them so many times. And you replace them with 2 new up-and-comers. I would say Blaz is quite experienced, but hasn't had the same amount of success as any of their previous prospects. And obviously, on paper, it looks like a bad trade. But I want them to make me wrong, right?
I think the reality of the situation is that they had to make 2 changes after such a catastrophic failure at Manchester. And that's what it was, you know. That's what was coming out from the G2 camp. That's what everybody thought. That's what the fans thought. That's what literally everybody thought. Now, would anybody have put these 2 players in as the transfers in? No, they wouldn't. But I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I think Blaz is a top player and has been on every single one of his teams on an individual perspective. And I know you're going to pull me up on that.
Individual.
On an individual perspective. Parabellum, hard carried. GK, hard carried, was playing well at the major. He can shoot, he can frag. If he can be molded into a team player, and I know that's your criticism, if he can be molded into a team player, great. Loira's a player with a lot of potential as well. So are they G2 signings that I would expect, you know, when they go and get some of the best players on earth? No. Are they the signings I would have gone for? No. But do I think they can work? There's a part of me, and it might be my G2 affiliation, but there's a part of me that thinks it could.
I remember once when you took off your shirt and you had a G2 jersey underneath. I know that you guys have got high expectations for G2. I know that the fans at home do. What are their expectations coming into phase 2?
So our expectations for the season is winning UL, because we are trying to chase the SI points. So that's what we're looking for. We need to beat everyone and win the tournament. I think let's go to the top. I mean, it's gonna be 8 or 80. Either we're gonna be on top or we're gonna be on last. There's no in between.
Interesting there from Alamau is he's hit the nail on the head, and he's very honest there as well, Leo. You know, G2, we either finish right at the top or at the bottom. And I think that's like pretty accurate, right?
He seems so unbothered about it. But like, knowing the guy, he's the champion man. Like, he wants to win, obviously.
Yeah.
But it also tells you that, you know, I'm not wrong in the feeling that it's still a big gamble. Even himself, he feels like it's a big gamble. And you have to remember, like, I would even argue that Manchester was a trigger, yes, but like, it was a long time coming that they needed to make a chance. They had went through so many last chance qualifiers, so many lower bracket runs. Some of them were really magical, but in the end, you could see something was not functional with this team. Something that could not replicate the same amount of skill and amount of achievements that they had when they were the world champions in 2023. And that's the biggest thing for me is he's trying to replicate that. And I don't know if he still already believes in it at 100%, or if he's trying to convince himself that they're going to prove this is the right idea during the stage.
Well, their first step is up against Fnatic. Now, this org made its return to Siege here in EU earlier this year, and they already feel like it's time for change, and they've done so. Jigsaw and Tyrant out. You got Sax and the legend Kanto in Fresh. How are you feeling about these teams?
Yeah, I think this team is one that is a big question mark in everybody's mind. Again, you look at G2 and the history of G2 against Fnatic and what the two orgs represent in esports. They represent the pinnacle. They want to be at the top in every esport. Do these signings strike me as two signings that are going to get this team to the top? Well, no, because it's an old head in Kanto.
Yep.
As much as I like it, it is an old head in Kanto that was not in a top team, and it's an unproven player out of tier 2. That being said, let's take that aside. I do like Kanto. He was the one that came into this core when he was washed the first time, and he's got back into it. He's washed the second time, and he's in it again. And we all know how that ended with Rogue winning a major. I think he'll slot in personality-wise, fragging-wise. I think he's a really good fit. The shoe just fits with that guy in this team. Add in Sarks, who we don't know too much about him. We really don't.
Yep.
But he's come in from tier 2. He played in the Combine with Project X. He did well in every game, got to the final, came second place. So he's probably one of the best up-and-comers in tier 2 right now. He was top of the Proving Grounds leaderboard. And from what Fnatic is saying as well, he's a very moldable player. So if you add those two in, I think it's a case of Fnatic just being a much more balanced team than they were in stage 1.
I do want to touch more on the Italian Sax, who's looking to, obviously, this is a real opportunity to make a name for himself here as well. But a man who's already made a name for himself, you've talked about him there, you said he's been washed several times, but you can never kill this guy off. Is he unwashable? What do you think?
I don't think he's unwashable, but I think that certainly he has worked a lot. I think he has worked a lot to get his opportunity back. He left ITB, he left Wild. He was expecting, I think, at some point to make it back, but he didn't expect to deserve it. He actually worked really hard to get back there. And doing it with Fnatic, with a core roster that he won a major with, no better way to do it. Actually, I expected him maybe to get back with Wild or with a lower roster, or maybe spend too much time in tier 2. But no, he's back again, and I think he's going to value that opportunity a lot, because like you said, it's maybe the 4th or 5th time that he's brought back into tier 1 after his incredible stance in the first end days.
All right. Just look at this. Look at the wide shot. Look at these two logos. It's iconic when it comes to esports. This is a great matchup we've got ahead of us. Let's take a look at map picks and bans here going into this best of 1 Fresh.
Yeah, so going into this best of 1, we're going to see Consulate as the map played. Now, the big thing for me, and the big thing for you, Leo, we were talking about it. Consulate was Fnatic's permaban. So
yes.
if we ignore all of the map bans and just focus on the one played, Fnatic have chose to go away from Chalet and take us to Consulate. So that shows they've been working on it.
Not only that, it was their most banned map with 16 times banned, but not only that, it was one of G2's best maps, 71% win rate. They picked it 4 times. They're super confident in it. If you look before that in the map veto, it's all normal. G2 bans their weakest map and the new map, okay, fine. Fnatic bans also G2's undefeated map in Cafe and their weaker map. But that's exactly what, like you pointed out, that's the final decision to go to Consulate, one of the strongest maps in G2, and the usual permaban from Fnatic. That for sure was a trap, that for sure they wanted to go there. They have prepared something in scrims.
So what's your prediction, Fresh? What's happening?
I don't know, it's a crazy one, because when you know a team has a permaban, as Fnatic did, and I'm not saying it's their permaban now, I'm saying it was their permaban.
Yes.
You don't know what has been, you don't know what to expect. We ultimately don't know if Fnatic have taken this summer, because they didn't go to EWC here, and have reworked it and just re-established themselves on this map. They could have sat and watched Furia, they could have sat and watched FaZe, BDS, any of the top teams on this map, taken those strats, made it work to their own playstyle, increased their level of theory. And what that means is, and it depends whether Fnatic have scrimmed G2 in the summer on this map, G2 might not know what's coming. And I know what the G2 guys can be like. If they've been caught off, it really will be playing off in the heads. Why did we leave it open? This is Fnatic's permaban, we shouldn't have gone there. So, I'm not saying G2 have been caught off, but if they have, it's advantage Fnatic right now.
It's exciting. It's one of the best things about Play Day 1, isn't it? You don't really know what's coming.
Nope.
And we all learn so much after just one play day. Like we all go to bed tonight and we get excited for play day 2, and we've got so much to talk about after the fact. But we learn what these teams are really bringing to the table. You only get one play day 1. I know it's an obvious thing to say.
Yeah, and I think it's also one of the only play days where you see two big names of Siege, two big names of esports that make both 2 roster changes.
Yeah.
And play each other on the first play day.
Or you just flicking the stream off there, I'll be honest.
Watch out. No, but what I'm saying right now is you should be really worried about this, because it's one of I think it's the best match of the day right now, because of the names, because of them making that many roster changes.
It's one of those scenarios where we're on the desk and we need to predict what happens, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, we haven't seen G2 in this lineup in an actual competition, and we haven't seen Fnatic with this lineup in an actual competition. And we're going onto a map that we don't have any track record of Fnatic on. There are so many unknowns in this that it's kind of like we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. We can speculate that G2 might not have had the roster changes we'd have gone for.
That Secret has better players than G2 players.
And we can speculate Fnatic might not have gone for the players that we would have gone for in an ideal scenario. But we ultimately don't know, and that's the beauty of a play day 1.
Just talking about G2 and their roster changes, you know, I said at the very beginning here when we started talking about this game that some big personalities, the Rockstars and all that, they are, you know, they're strong people to get involved with, right? And they've got their way of doing things. Do you think for players coming into that roster, when you've got players such as Doki and Alamau, that it's tough to sort of blend in and it's quite an intimidating environment?
To exist, I'm not sure. I actually think that if you have a big ego, or if you come from teams where you were the star players, it's a great idea to get tamed, actually.
Yeah.
Because you're in front of people that actually have better ego, a bigger one than you, and better achievements, and that have proved themselves way more than you do. And you have a head coach that won majors, that won SI. Like, you cannot be the same guy that you were. So there's a way to just follow the path, follow what their vision is.
Are you speaking directly to Blaz here?
Yes, of course.
Because this is not about Lyra, this is about Blaz. But that's the thing, right? If Blaz comes into this team, what has Blaz won?
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's nothing. He's sat there looking at Alamau, who's won Major and an SI. He's looking at Romalio, who's won stuff when he was on old teams. Doki's won an SI. Uno's played forever, was in major finals, lots of main stage, all that type of stuff. He can't be the one with the ego. He's not the star of the show. And that, incidentally, is why I think Blaz might succeed on this G2 roster.
How much do you love pickups like Sarks? You know, a player that came from T2, you mentioned as well in the finals at Combine. And the easy thing to do when you are a big org like Fnatic is think, all right, I want as many star-studded, big names as we can pull together here. But I think giving players like this a chance, Fresh, suggests that they're more about the long game and they're not wanting to rush everything.
Yeah, it's a very strange juxtaposition that Fnatic find themselves in that they've given a chance to an old guy that's maybe washed and a new guy that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that people need to focus on is they've given a chance to Sarks, and the reason, and I know from Fnatic, the reason they trialed him is he was the #1 player in a hub that the players play, you know, a 10-man's hub. So they gave him that chance, and he just impressed them so much in scrims. They went, hey, we can roll with this guy. And I think that's really crucial because, you know, we see these tier 2 competitions. We saw Combine, you know, we've got the others coming up. And there are players that have made the step up because of their performance in these competitions as well. So Sarks is one of a number of players we'll see tonight, and hopefully in the future into EU as well.
And it just goes to prove once again, Leo, if you can perform at these lower levels in Siege, an opportunity might come where you get plucked to come and play in EUL.
You have plenty of examples of it. You look at Joom, you look at Adrian, you look at Creed, you look at these guys. Like, these guys were up-and-comers in T2 play. Even you would say almost the entirety of the ITB roster comes from that. And it gives you the right opportunity if you're in the right team to show yourself and prove you deserved it. I think Sarks pick up. Fnatic is trying to replicate the same right bet that other teams have done in picking good prospects coming from hubs, coming from tier 2 play. Now, I would say that the other players, they showed themselves a little bit more. I think that Sarks was still flying a little bit more under the radar, so it might be a bigger bet for Fnatic.
Well, I'll tell you what, 2 guys who definitely aren't T2. They're T1 through and through. Let's bring Des and Ace back on, shall we? Look at him. Look at him!
I don't know about Des.
What are you frowning at, Des? What are you frowning at?
Mate, I struggle to get out of goals. Don't ever say I'm T1, let alone T2. Jesus.
Guys, you've been the lyrics over the music for the first 2 matchups there, Ace, and we've started strong, haven't we? What a cracking first couple of games.
It's been exactly as we expected. We knew we were going to come in to some fierce competition. Everybody knows how big a start you need, especially those teams at the minute that maybe didn't make it to Manchester. I'm looking at teams like Wolves. They know they need Montreal to have a realistic chance to get into SI, and they've come out absolutely firing. They have no choice, and they've delivered. It's been a fantastic first couple of games.
Des, what do you make of these G2 changes? We'll get to Fnatic shortly, but what do you think of G2 coming in here?
I was really excited then when you were saying make of these and you're going to gesture towards like Fresh and Leo, so I could just go in on Fresh for like 30 seconds. But since we're talking about teams, all right, what team do you want G2 first? It's really hard with G2. It's always really hard. They've got arguably one of the best IGLs in the world. Doki has been a staple of Siege for absolutely years. It's a core that everyone knows and trusts and believes in, right?
Yeah.
And it's that same question that we had for new players earlier on that we asked in the previous games. So much pressure gets put on these players that I always worry that it's arguably a bit too much. They're coming into a new team. They're the newbie. They don't know the way things work so much. They're very quickly trying to learn. There's a lot of pressure and expectation on them. I think it can be really, really hard. I feel for Sarks mostly. I know Blaz has obviously got quite a bit of experience previously, but Sarks coming in on the other side, for me at least, is going to be the one that I'm most mindful of and keeping a very, very close eye on. But I think there's a few chances here for some stars who made here, because as you said, Ian, these are arguably the two biggest esports orgs in all of European Siege, and it's absolutely amazing to see them go head-to-head every single time.
I like your point there, Des, about pressure. And I think it's an interesting one, isn't it, Leo? Because you've got these new names coming in, and then you've got these guys who are still part of this G2 roster. You know, there might have been fans in some parts of the Siege community calling for their heads at one point. You've got your Doki, you've got your Alamau, and you've got your Uno. Who do you think's got the most pressure on them? Is it the new bodies coming in or the old guys?
No, I would say actually it's still the new guys. Yeah, especially when you're wearing the G2 name for the first time. It's always the same story. Such a big name. It's even worse when you're a younger one. I think Loyera, for example, and Blaz, he has deserved a chance on the top tier 1 team for so long. For sure, I'm going to be looking at this guy.
I can never tell if Ace's camera's frozen because he's just locked in position at all times.
He just does this, doesn't he? Because he's got nothing moving. He's got no hair to flop around in the wind. He's just like...
Yeah. He's just locked in.
Because of all that wind that's in your bedroom, Des.
Des, what aircon are you popping off? I don't see your curtains blowing. Anyway, I've been told...
right here.
I've heard it all now.
I've been told that the game is ready. I could talk to you guys forever, but Des and Ace, this is what it's all about, right? G2, Fnatic, let's get tucked in.
Thank you very much, Ian. I tell you what, Ace doesn't need a fan, because I am your biggest fan, Tim. You don't need any of the fans.
Like this all the time, aren't I?
It's not like you're too agitated and you can't sit still, and Ian therefore will know that you haven't actually died and been replaced by a Tim-like robot clone.
Well, shall we get into things? G2 versus Fnatic. It's going to be a big one for the day. I did dig up an interesting little stat coming into today, Des, as part of my prep. So Fnatic, and I mean this as we've kind of got to follow the line of the roster. So the Fnatic and Koi before them and Rogue before them, but pretty much the same core. You've got, Leon, Deepek, Kanto, all the way back to 2022 at the beginning of 2022. But they have not won the opening game of an EUL stage since Stage 3 2021. That was the last time. So I came into my prep thinking, I know that Fnatic always seem to struggle on the first play day, because I remembered from last year, if you remember, Wild beat them. We had the same fixtures in Stage 1 and Stage 2 last year, and Wild beat them on the opening game, both games. And I remembered that, and then I thought, well, they lost to G2 Stage 1 this year. So then I started digging back further, and I thought, yeah, I always in my mind seem to think they're a team that seems to struggle to get going at the beginning of a stage. And yeah, it goes all the way back. The last one that they won was Stage 3 2021, and that was against Virtus Pro. Was the last team that they beat in the opening game of a new EUL stage. So we'll see whether they can buck the trend against G2 today.
That's the big question. And G2 are the team to beat, I feel, as well. Like, it's... a team that's made changes, remarked on a few times here, gone through a little bit of an identity change, but I imagine Blaz really probably being one of their frontline players alongside Doki. Back in the day, we'd look Benja being that kind of player. Of course, times have changed since then. Is the team probably still finding its feet a little bit here and figuring out exactly what it is? The same can be said for Fnatic, though, as we said, a couple of new players, but I think a team they acknowledged needed changes. I think in the post-Spoit era, it has been a struggle for them to get back to the form that we saw, of course, winning in Berlin a couple of years ago. Well, let's get into it then. Consulate coming out. Do Fnatic surprise G2 with this one or not? We will find out as the attacks get underway. G2 are on the defensive side, and you've already got Doki looking for some mischief with that Boss G.
We've already seen the power of it. Rykos, of course, in that last matchup, able to pick up a beautiful opening kill onto Adrian with the Boss G at a serious range as well. So it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to see it being put to some serious work in Doki's hands as well on the Vigil. He's just going to try to make as much of a nuisance of himself as he can. I will say what I always do about Vigil. Where is the value in Vigil for a defender? He's not bringing any utility that really helps the team so much. He needs to be finding kills and he needs to be wasting time. Those are the two commodities that Vigil brings to the table. It's going to be Loira though to kick things off, and that's going to take down Starks, and there Doki gets that value out of Vigil and finds one for himself as well.
Yeah, two beautiful kills to start things off. You probably argue are not the most impactful operators as well. You still got the E1Ds, for example, the Grim for putting pressure in, the Ace Selma charges on side for opening up that hard breach, but still 2 kills and 2 guns that are taken offline. And, you know, also the 2 new players on Fnatic, the ones that are going to be a lot of questions around. I spoke a little bit about the pressure that comes for new players when they join teams, especially those that are less experienced, like Starks. Kanto, I doubt it just runs off like water off a duck's back at this point, to be honest with you. I doubt he really feels the pressure too much. But to go down so soon, that's a bit of a stinker. 2 more kills fly through, and G2 have just not given Fnatic an inch so far. Deepet will find 1, but he's got 4 more to go through, and he's only got 7 HP to his name, Tim.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for him. I don't think there's anything that he's going to find out of this one. Yeah, you know, the Vigil being brought along as well, it's a fascinating pick. You got to remember, it's one of the, I won't say often forgotten, because I don't think it's often forgotten, but it's, you know, another counter for Vigil. Yes, we think about him on drones. Immediately, that's what you think of. Vigil removes his visual signature from drones. You can't see him. You just get the little white lines, but he doesn't get picked up by the Lion scans either. So, you know, again, it was just a nice little pick into that attacking lineup. Not something necessarily that G2 could have specifically prepared for, but it is going to, you know, you've got to think about where the attackers have repick. If you do pick up on the Vigil, it's something you got to think about with your operator lineup coming in.
Doki, I think, is pretty correct. Unfortunate way to be reintroduced back to the league is getting absolutely domed by the Boss G of Doki. Solid start, though, and I mean, that first round for me, you don't really get much to take away from it. G2 have had a bit of a run around. It's like playing against 5 absolute ranked demons that have just come and snapped your head off at every given opportunity. That's it. Pause, reset, go again. Pretend round 1 didn't happen, and try and fight your way back into things here in the second. Going to find themselves, at least for now, getting them reinforced up inside of blue. Uno on the Kai will be able to block that one off. Thankfully, we have got the 6th pick coming in, though, for the Thatch, which means this wall will still be able to be opened up as long as I get that EMP in the right place, which is pretty hard to get wrong given the radius of it compared to the micro EMPs.
Again, Doki just trying to squirrel away inside of the map. Sorry, Loira. It's actually switched on to the Vigil, trying to confuse me there. Interestingly, Loira, of course, coming across from Black Dragons. They discussed him on the desk. He was the top-rated player for Black Dragons, but he was also nominated. The Brazil Esports team, the league, do their own awards each year, and he was nominated as Rookie of the Year in 2023 last year. He lost out to Vitaking of FaZe fame, of course, but yeah, certainly, you know, no slouch when it comes to his siege that he's played so far out in Brazil.
Just a very different ball game when you step over into EU, of course, but of course it started out pretty well so far for himself. This time around, it's his turn, Tim, with the Boss G. They're passing it around there and sharing it around the group, and sure enough, gets the down and not quite the finish off on towards Jegs, who I imagine will get recovered by one of his teammates. But look at this, Tim. Kanto's also managed to work his way in, I'd say pretty quickly, but he is on the sledge incredibly slowly, has got himself inside the building and is hoping to find someone lurking in down below. Right sort of idea, but no one's home.
Yeah, nobody there for him to get a pickup onto at the moment. But if nothing else, he can at least hold on to that position and prevent any potential movement or flanking coming out from G2 Roma's. Jegs will get picked up back onto his feet. That'll put him on 20 HP. Could be an important one. The Ace not really being brought along for the breaching capability too much in this. They do have Leon on the Thermite. Ace often brought along for other elements. You know, you've got your soft breach, so you can do some vertical work. You've got a great gun. You can go in and take fights. He can hard breach for himself. Very self-sufficient operator is Ace. So not necessarily close to being too big a loss, but could definitely be useful down here on base.
He was lucky someone didn't hit the deck there as well. Maybe able to find him off the back of it. Goes for a C4, hoping to find someone above, but nothing to be found. I think off the back of Jegs going down, they've lost so much time here for Fnatic that it's going to come down to a little bit of a rush push at the very end of it. Both hard breaches down to 20 HP at this point. G2 not a lick of damage on any of their players, and they've still got quite a lot of the map in their control here. The push across from servers coming on through. We've got Fnatic now starting to coalesce inside the servers, and the push through has got to start happening soon. G2 though are dug in and ready.
Yeah, G2 just going to hold their positions now and wait for the push to come forward. We can see they've got Blaz on the mirror just on the left-hand side of your screen there, looking for this push to come through. Doki manages to find Leon, only had 20 health, but that's the Thermite gone. There's the mirror that it was actually Uno, sorry, manages to get that kill. Alamo, Lyra, all getting on the action, and this is great for G2 because plenty of players are seeing that action, getting involved, finding those kills. Deepak manages to find a double put. That's going to be all she wrote as G2 lock out round 2.
Very comfortable, very composed so far is all I can really say. Maybe those fears about the hidden Fnatic consulate have now suddenly fallen away. Of course, things could change in the second half, but G2 to meet him, they don't really look like they're suffering from any challenge so far. The fact they've got away with these kills so early in the round and there has been basically no response from the other side of Fnatic really tells you the whole story. Will it be an early timeout coming in for them? Very possibly, because I feel at this point they need some new ideas, some new life being breathed into the gameplay, because G2 has said, do not look bothered so far.
Yeah, no, it's been very, very calm and collected for G2. First round, you felt they managed to get a couple of kills out around the map and, were able to get active. Second round, they didn't really need to. They just played themselves down on site. They had nice crossfires established. They were able to support each other and just wear Fnatic down, really. As the time ticked by, Fnatic had to start moving forward, but again, I go by the metric that I've said before, and that is, I kind of look at it, and it's not something you can put a number or a value to, but how bothered were the defenders on site? You've always got those core defenders that are going to stay on site. How bothered were they during that round? How affected were they during that round? And the answer there is, not at all. They were able to just sit still for most of the round. It was hands-off keyboard stuff, watch cams. They just weren't really pressured by the attackers. There wasn't any breaches opened up. There wasn't any angles gained that really forced them out of position or forced them to react. And where that happens, generally, your defenders are going to come away with an easy win because the site just isn't being pressured.
Kanto winding back the years here, charging forward on the Ash as well. Of course, got Leon coming along on the Blitz. So one thing I've always kind of said about Leon, a bit of a criticism, I guess, but also a more of acknowledgement of difference in play, is that as the IGL and more supportive player on the team, he's really aggressive. For the longest time, was often involved in the most entry engagements for his team, which always baffled me a little bit. And in the last stage, to be fair to him, that got pulled back. Got really good at staying alive longer in the round, being the true support for his team. And sure enough, here he's going quite aggressive on the line forward. Not going to find any damage there with the C4. So Leon will stay on full HP, at least for now. But in this round, at least, Tim, it feels like more aggression is on the cards for him.
Well, Mike's just going to sit in wait here. He's got the glasses activated. He knows he's potentially going to be pushed by the blitz of Leon, who's looking to come around the corner. I'm not sure if he's aware of Alamo's exact position, but he is going to be feeding into a shotgun. The shield could protect him, but for the time being, we're being tantalized with a carrot on a stick here, Des. They're trying to get us excited over an engagement that at the minute just isn't forthcoming.
At least for now, yeah. I mean, burnt a lot of time getting prepped for this, but this comp wants to go fast. That's what it's built for. And he runs straight into him. Alamo's dug in deep, and they haven't seen a thing. All the work being done by the Mute and the Mozzie to keep the information back. And at this point, Fnatic are starting to run out of ideas. They had so much riding on that blitz doing work. And G2, once again, are just going to sit pretty and say, boys, no problem. Our feet are up. Our hands are behind our heads. Off the mouse and keyboard. feel free to give it a go when you're ready.
Yeah, again, you know, watch for that element that I spoke about. How bothered are the defenders on site? And right now, it's not very. Kanto manages to find Blaz. Deepek is down to 1 HP, though. Sarks is found by Alamo. G2 once again keeping the pressure on, not giving any space to Fnatic. 30 seconds left to go. Kanto manages to find another. You said that he was rolling back the years. He continues to do so, keeping Fnatic fighting here with 20 seconds to go.
Is this enough for them, though, as well, into a 2 versus 2, and Deepek's only on 1 HP. It's going to take a lick at him to see him finished off. Doki finds one more and takes him off the window as well. Of course, the Scotsman goes flying. 2 to close out, and yes, a much closer round, but G2 still in control. 3-0.
Yeah, definitely better from Fnatic. A little bit more promise, but it was all down to a couple of kills towards the end there. Kanto managing to get himself involved, but again, you know, were they in a position to confidently start putting that diffuser down? And, you know, whilst, yes, Jegs tried to do it, it kind of felt more out of necessity. 20 seconds left, 2v2, we got to make a move. I'm going to try and get it down. The cover just wasn't really there. Yes, they certainly affected site a bit more. I will give them that compared to what I spoke about in round 2. But still, they didn't have control of it. Doki able to mop up an easy double for himself at the end. Get himself, and Doki's a dangerous one to get. I'm not saying that they gave him that double kill, but he's a dangerous one when he starts finding kills. We've seen this from Doki over the years. It's often all or nothing. And it doesn't matter where the kills come from. It doesn't matter if they, you know, nice shots or just easy pickups. The point is, when you start seeing that number, a player like Doki starts seeing that number just increasing at the side of his name, the confidence grows and he becomes more and more dangerous in the game.
It does, it does. I think Kanto's got to restart, as we just saw in the chat then for a second, so we'll give it a minute or two and then get back into things. But if nothing else, it's probably a little bit of reflection time, I think, for Fnatic, who has said have really struggled to find themselves coming into it so far. What's your take, though? Because at least what we saw there, outside of that single kill that Kanto found in that round, everything has gone the way of Deepek. I know that Kanto got the finish onto one of them, but I believe the down had already come forward from Deepek, which is why he then got the 5th and confirmed kill. It's another one of those games where we're not seeing too much involvement from the rest of the are gone.
I wish I could.
7 are gone.
I wish I could look at the top left corner. Oh, never mind. Don't worry, I'll glance up in that direction.
90% of people have no idea what you meant when you said that.
For anybody wondering, I'm partially sighted. I can't see the top left corner of my screen unless I look in that direction. But don't worry, I keep a regular check on it.
Just twist your head, Tim. Hello?
Sorry?
Just twist your head to the side of it. It'll be all right.
That's what I do. That is what I do.
Watching you drive must look like someone's just having like a bit of a meltdown in the driving seat, right?
I'm very safe whilst that. Very, very safe.
I just imagine you twitching your head left all the time.
Right, here we go then. Who's going to get it? We're going to have any Twitch kills this time. That's going to be the question, not the operator. I mean, more the reflex. We've had a couple of nice shots landed so far throughout the first 3 rounds. G2 are looking sharp overall. We'll see whether that continues. Right now, they are certainly head and shoulders above the performance that we have seen from Fnatic. Just concern there, Fnatic, the attackers, about any potential for nitros from below. But good progress being made here. They've got themselves into top floor. They are attacking onto Piano, but they want the verticals. They've got Buck in the hands of Sarks, so they're going to be looking to get him confidently into meeting, into console, to start opening up those angles. Kanto continues with the good game he's been having so far and takes down Lyra.
That's it. They want G2 off this top floor, but they're still holding on pretty aggressively. Like Doki, you just saw, is only just backed away. 2 of them heading down the stairs, and no one's there to collect them on the rotate away. At this point, no one being tagged up either as well. So in a good spot, and they've got themselves away. It may have lost someone in the process, but Tim, they've waited a good 2 minutes, 20 seconds there. That's still enough for Fnatic to execute, but they haven't got too much visibility in towards sight at this point. Everything they're looking at now is still a little bit fresh. Still got to get used to some of this utility to get themselves in a good spot to execute, but it's going to be a Hail Mary, Tim. No room for errors, and there is error number 1. Leon has fallen.
Yeah, Doki took a lot of damage along the way there, so that does help Fnatic, but Uno coming up big when they needed him to, picking up a beautiful kill with the mirror. 3 versus 4 then as Uno manages to get himself a second. We know that he's got this in his locker, but Deepak, he's going to shut him down, and the diffuser's going down. Sarks is managing to pick that up, and that's going to leave us now. Nitro goes out!
Beautiful!
And a big double from Blaz! How about that? We've been focused on these new players, and Blaz, it's his time in the spotlight. What a beautiful finish to send G2 to 4-0.
It's like we said, Tim, when you leave things down to the last 20, 30 seconds, there can be no errors, no way in that you let the defenders back in towards site or have any way of disrupting the execute coming on through. In that case, a C4 from downstairs with a freshly open hole, that's a little bit of a new one, but it's enough to get the round over the finish line. So yes, they lost a player upstairs, but burning 2 minutes and 20 seconds was the most crucial part. And try as they might with this, nothing's coming off the back of it. Great play coming out. G2 still in full control.
Down to the basement we go then. Same rotation continues for G2. We obviously on the desk spoke about Blaz and his extensive experience. He's challenging our own Leo Alfama for the title of Mr. Worldwide. I think he's certainly cropped up, you know, all over the place over the last few years. It's many teams that he's been on, and seeing him here, he's having a decent start to things on the side of G2. Difficult to find kills at the minute, to be honest, but 3-1, and I mean that because everybody else is getting them around him as well. But yes, going very well so far. I mean, Blaz goes a long way back, Des. You know, we're talking, you know, all the way down to appearances on Penta, for those with the, you know, that were around when Penta were involved. You can go even further back if you want to get down to the real original stuff. Teams like Dizlown and Mocket Academy were teams that you know, Blaz was exactly. We're really, I'm showing my age now, this siege age and physical age. You know, we're going way back there. But Bandit Trick is going to be successful. Well picked up from Uno, and he's another one that's just having a great game today. We talk about Kanto rolling back the years, so is Uno. Fantastic performance so far.
I mean, really, the whole G2 side, yeah, Laura's at 2 and 3 is a negative, and you maybe raise that, but I'm still saying the first couple of rounds, you hit a pretty nasty couple of shots, so certainly no complaints. And it's also hard to collect many kills for yourself when your team are absolutely flying off the handle. Whereas on the other side, again, really all eyes turn toward Deepek. He's the only one making things happen as the flex player for them. Here on the Thatcher, still trying to get their way inside a bunker, blue, box, secret, whatever the hell you want to call it. Still trying to make that work, enough so that they may have to rotate things away. In fact, if Justin Leon's got himself in at the bottom of yellow here, so yes, they've abandoned that initial push altogether just because of a cheeky little bandit.
Deepek is going to pick up the first kill onto Blaz. Kanto doubles down and manages to pick up Dorky as well. 5 versus 3, and this looks like it could be a first successful round for Fnatic. 1 minute 30 left to go, so plenty of time. They've got map control as well, and they can start really pressing this advantage. They've got time if they wish to sort of put a little pause on things, get the drones out, you know, have that moment to gather the intel, start opening those angles. They've got the book, they've got the ace, they've got the utility they need, they've got the Monty to play in behind. They need to make sure they don't start giving bodies away. Alamai manages to get one. If he picks up a second, this could be a bit of a throw-in coming from Fnatic.
Don't forget, Tim, the last 3 players on G2 here have all got C4s in back pocket to make use of as well. There's a lot they can do. He's going to push aggressively here, and Starks has got no idea. Doesn't hear him coming down the stairs and pays for it with his life. 2 more kills go through. Fnatic, not like this. You had a 5v3. You had a Monty to spearhead the charge for you, and still you're losing man after man. Jegs, with a little bit of balance here, brings it down to a 2v2. But Tim, keep an eye on those 2 C4s in the back pocket.
And we're in that same position again. Keep your eye on the clock as well, I would say. 25 seconds left to go. Yep. And Fnatic are going to be in a position of having to just throw a Hail Mary here and just try and force their way into sight. Like you say,
nice
G2
shot.
Could potentially just drop down, play this from beneath. Jegs has come up big here. He's showing that he can be a real match winner. Nitro is not going to be successful. Uno really needed something from that. But, Jegs. Whew. Will pick up that final kill. 4 seconds left to go. Comes off the plant because the man got downed, as she quite rightly picked up Des, and that was a big decision moment from Jegs, and he's come up with a big round win for Fnatic. Not an easy position to be in. 2v1, you're planting the diffuser. Your man gets downed by a Nitro. What do? Do you stick the plant, or do you come off ready for the fight? And Jegs, he knew that he was going to be pushed, and he picks up that final kill. Good stuff.
Such a shame as well, for arguably for the last man on the side of G2. I don't think he realized, but Deepek went down. He ran into one of the Legion Q mines and almost saw himself put down. I believe removed it, then stepped into another and found himself put onto his backside. That was a 1 versus 1. All he had to do was run the clock down, but again, I don't think he was fully aware that Deepek had hit the deck. Came that close, just not quite close enough. Fnatic get at least 1 round of breathing room for themselves here going into round 6.
Yeah, they desperately needed something, realistically. 6-0, you know, it's obviously always a massive problem when you get to the half. But I think the problem for Fnatic was, up to that point, you know, rounds 1 to 4, I just didn't feel like they were really generally very close to picking rounds up. G2 felt, certainly for the first 3, to be, you know, very much in control of things. You know, it was very much playing to the beat of G2's drum, whereas Fnatic have been able to upset that a little bit, and that's going to be big for them. If they can get a second round here, 4-2, take 2 rounds heading into the second half, that bit of momentum, it's a bit of a turnaround for Fnatic, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, that last round was theirs to lose as well. Again, not forgetting with the Monty on side and the 5v3, it should never be coming that close any day of the week. Here, maybe trying to aim for the same, knowing that the ground underneath has been made soft. I don't believe it's by the buck. It may have already been done, but they have got the buck underneath now as well. So Sarks is down below, the one looking to threaten those that are playing inside of sight before they look for an execute. We've seen this a million times, Tim. The thing I'm really keen to see is how Leon makes use of the Monty here. It's not really conventional to send that flying in through the window. So is his goal to come pushing up yellow? I imagine so. And that will give them a little bit more pressure to make this push work. And here he is indeed, top of yellow, trying to put down some pressure.
Yeah, that's it. He's just going to be calling out any utility that needs clearing. It looks like his path has been made safe, so he can start to push forward towards site when the time comes. But for now, G2 pretty happy to hold their positions. Uno with smoke canister ready in hand for when that call comes out. He's going to be there as a direct counter to the Monty. He's going to be about as effective as it gets at stopping this shield pushing forward. And you can see the players up in his Fish just going to be feeding that information back in. The Yokai drones of Alamau as well, just making it as difficult as possible for the Monty to stay in that position. And trying to take the drone out is a little bit of a risk and reward. Leon doesn't want to overcommit to it because he knows when that shield drops, he could be swung. And Alamau's doing some work on the Yokai drones here.
Ain't he just? He's controlling the Monty and the plant at the same time. In comes the Monty that will finally get his kill off the back of it. Blad's going to hit the deck. 60 seconds to play with means there's still lots of time, though, for this to go one way or the other. Uno gets the side swipe on towards Leon. Monty removed. That's what they need. Another smoke comes on through, and Deepek down to 25 HP. And in a spot where they've got one more smoke on side, yes, they do. G2 can play this dance all over again, Tim, and they've still got the Yokais on side.
Yeah, a lot of utility for the Fnatic to deal with here if they want to be able to get that diffuser down. It is going to be collected by Deepek, so they're in a position to at least do that, but that's clever. Just dumping the Nitro out there. It's not a throw that now needs to be made. Loira can just wait. It's unlikely to be cleared, but as soon as he knows that they've come in through that window, bang, he can trigger it. And especially with Deepek on low health and diffuser in hand, it's going to likely find its target. But I tell you what, I don't need my Nitro. I'm going to use the gun instead. Picks up a beautiful double at top yellow. Loira just really pushing the round over the line for G2 there. That's going to be G2 going 5-1 on the half. Absolutely dominating on Consulate.
Unreal. What I love about that round from G2 was every player was in the right place at the right time. On the other side, Fnatic was still trying to kind of figure things out. They were dancing around yellow, not quite sure what the push was going to be. They managed to pull off a couple of like half executes through the window as we're used to seeing, trying to bait out utility from the other side. But either way, you had Uno in the right place with the smokes to be able to stop off the plant going down, but also to contest the Monty when Leon went a bit too far forwards. We had Loira in the dream spot, dealing with the flash on the Warden, and also able to push out aggressively, a C4 at the ready. Just again, everyone, right place, right time, extremely comfortable. Another really dominant round. And Fnatic, it is a very big hill to climb at this point, Tim. They're down 5-1. I'm not quite sure they can pull it back that strongly unless, again, two halves to a game of Siege comes to light and we just see a very different and arguably disastrous G2 come out here on their attacking side.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and I totally agree with you, you know, we do see those turnarounds, and I'll reserve judgment for the next couple of rounds, but the reality is that Fnatic just haven't been at the races compared to G2 so far. And so for me, it's not just about a side switch here. There's going to need to be a switch in mentality and performance from Fnatic because they've just not been winning all the gunfights. They've just been losing too much ground, not clearing utility. And so for me, I think very difficult. And look at the confidence that G2 are moving with already. 25 seconds into the round, we're seeing those external walls opened up. We're seeing intel gathered. G2 just feel like they are on for a speed run here. They want to get this one done.
And I don't blame him as well. The less you can show as well, the more effective it becomes when you play teams on this map again in future, potentially. Not always the reason why a game should go to 7-1 or 7-0, for example, but it does mean you get to conceal quite a bit. Leon chewed up, spat out, 1-7, not the dream start to EUL Stage 2 that he was looking for. And Tim, that stat you rolled out earlier on may well increase into 2025 at this rate if it keeps on going this way.
Certainly could do. Fnatic looking to continue that unfortunate streak in struggling in the first game. You know, at the end of the day, it's not all bad news. Don't forget, this is a roster under Rogue that won the Berlin Major. You know, they are quite capable of turning around a loss in the first game of the Blade Day. But, Fnatic are in a similar position for SI that I've spoken about for other teams like Wolves. They really need a qualification to Montreal. And so with only 8 games ahead of them, they need to be winning as many as they can, as quickly as they can, to give themselves the best opportunity for qualification to the major. And right now, that's not looking good for them.
It is not. However, it's day one, of course, plenty can change around in that time and in that space. But for now, you got to worry about Alamau, who's bearing down a second ago on Cantor on the upstairs. Didn't believe slowly being forced away here. They're splitting out here, one towards the left, one towards the right. The Monty soaking all the attention, but they don't quite hit the shots, and Laura's going to whip it up there a bit. Sucks finding his opposite man, and now Alamau going to have to get a bit of reinforcement coming in. Blast comes in for one, Alamau into a second. He's like, fine, I'll do it myself. Pistol comes out, they get the kill, and now the Monty is the one watching over the plan. What timeline am I watching right now? Can he hold him away? Looks for his man, not quite able to find it. Into a 1 versus 2. It's not going to happen. and Jegs will find his man. Smoke will burn out for a smoke. Fire will burn out for a couple of seconds, but Fnatic will be able to stick this disable.
Well played from Jegs there. Knew he needed to get aggressive onto the plan. Talamau did all that he could behind the shield, but it was just not going to be enough. Don't worry, there will be enough time. The Vulcan canister there will dissipate, and they can get that activated diffuser disabled, and that's going to give a second round for Fnatic. It was a little bit hairy at the close there. 2 versus 2. Diffuser goes down, but Jegs realistically isn't going to lose that situation too often, because there's nothing Alamau can really do other than drop his shield to make the challenge, or just try to cover Blaz until Blaz can get guns up. And ultimately, Jegs' movement was just a little bit too quick. He gave it the juke, he gave it the little step around, and managed to find the angle onto Blaz, gets himself the kill, and it's well finished for Jegs.
Heartbreaking for Loira, because he hits even one of those 2 shots that he goes for. Suddenly this is a very, very different round ending situation. Shield goes up, they can hold on forever. They're absolutely laughing, but just doesn't quite hit the crucial shot when it's so needed. Good hold though by Fnatic. They do stave off that G2 assault, and they get themselves on the board here in this second half. Yes, it's still 5-2, but is that a sign of things to come?
Moving on to round 8 then, G2 going to be looking for a first successful attack. The problem for Fnatic here is, because they only won 1 attack, G2 only need to find 1 site that they can beat them on. They can just find the 3rd choice site, they can come in, get themselves onto match point, and then they just go and win there again. It's as simple as that. You know, if Fnatic's first 2 choices are console and garage, they can go and win those both. The real question is going to be that tertiary site, is going to be that 3rd choice. Where do they go, and can they lock it down? You know, is it going to be piano? Probably. Tellers would be an option potentially, but G2, they only need to find their wins there. They're not going to be bothered about whether it's 7-2, 7-3, 7-5. They just want their 3 points and to move on. So G2 will happily pick up those 3rd choice sites, but you better believe they're going to give it everything to get it done before that.
This one being cheeky on towards the double doorway. Nothing to be found. No one come charging on through, so no joy for Kanto, who's really hoping to recreate a little bit of the essence from G2 in that first half. Boss G in hand as well, hoping to find someone with a snap to the neck, but nothing to be found as Blaz has worked his way down in the other side of the map right here. G2 have just basically ignored that top floor. Kanto's still trying to find anyone, someone to talk to up there. But at the starting point, at least, G2 have put their attention elsewhere.
Fnatic, yeah, pretty focused downstairs. However, Leon focuses on the bullets coming towards him. They hit him in the head as Uno manages to take him down. Loira, Blaz getting in on it, and G2, they're just sweeping over Fnatic like a tide right now, Des. And Fnatic are trying to hold it back with a bucket. And believe me, it's getting ahead of them. Doki picks up that final kill. Fnatic now first in match point. They are struggling.
I'm just wondering if they had a mirror window facing out towards server side. I believe no. Because as I said then in the moment, like, how does a mirror die first here? How does Leon go down so early? And it's because of that lateral push that we sort of hinted towards. Kanto was looking for anyone on that top floor to engage with, but G2 was so focused on going laterally, going on the same floor down in that basement, and just hitting it from there. They completely caught Fnatic off guard, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't have any information of their own towards that side of the map. No bulletproofs, no mirror windows looking out that way, and then Leon is the first one to go down. 1-8 in this game, not been that dream start to stage 2 that he was hoping for with these roster changes that maybe are coming in. But for G2, it's looking like dreamland, Tim. They get 4 swings of the bat here, 4 bites of the cherry to get things done in regulation and take a decisive first day win.
Leon has been 4 of the opening kills as well. G2 has got 6 of 8 opening kills. It's been giving them a massive advantage at the beginning of each round. And out of those 6, 4 of those deaths have come for Leon. It's been a tough game for him so far today. And it just doesn't feel like it's getting any better. G2 at the moment, they are 1 round away from securing a great opening day win. You know, coming in as with any team that's had 2 players changed over, we didn't know exactly what to expect, exactly what we were going to get. I think there's been a number of things here, and that is, you know, G2, I think, have performed reasonably well with their new players. Blaz and Loira both getting in on the action. G2 looking pretty solid, but I think it's got to be said that Fnatic just have not been up to speed either, Des, and G2 haven't really been tested very much.
They haven't, no. I mean, this is the thing I think for a few teams you've seen today, like, tested has been the word that I would use to describe most teams that we've seen play so far. G2 are the one that looked the most comfortable and arguably the team that had the most question marks around them, I'd say. Yeah, Leo was not a Blaz believer, for example, on the desk, and admittedly it's not been the Blaz show, it has been everyone else stepping up and going big. But I think overall as a team, at least in this game, they're looking pretty put together. Now, does that come down to Fnatic not quite being at the races? Most definitely. They don't quite look at it today as the way that I described them, but it's going to have to come from somewhere. And a lot of that, I think, comes from a really good start by G2. Blazer speak about him, puts down his opposite number in Jegs, who's had a pretty good game so far, was at 6 and 6, now 6 and 7. A great start that's going to cause even more problems for Fnatic.
Really important as well. Blaz is on the Ram. It's an operator that they want to open up those verticals. They've got other options with the soft bridge on the Hibana and the Ashe, but having that Ram there just speeds up the process. It brings more to the table. You've got that noise that you can play behind as well. And so Blaz taking that fight confidently and winning it and getting himself another onto Kanto. He's looking good for it. Alamai manages to find Deepak, and this is all but done, Des. There's a minute 15 left to go. Leon, who's had a tough day, 1 and 8, now finds himself in a 1v4. This is rough. Lyra closes it out. G2 with a confident victory against Fnatic.
Extremely confident, Tim. I agree with you entirely. I think the big test will come when they come up against teams that are, I don't mean this badly, shooting back. For the most part there, like you saw at the very close, it was a freebie being pulled over. In the first half, it was peeking out with Boss G's and collecting freebies as well. Fnatic not quite looking like the put-together team that we were hoping to see today. Their woes may well continue, and they've got to find themselves improving quickly. I know it's only play day 1, but as we said, it's a tall order for them to get towards SI here. They've really got to put on a show this stage, and based on today, that's going to be a real tough climb.
Yeah, I think we've just seen, you know, in one match, the big difference that can come from changing 2 players. G2 done well, Fnatic, it's not gone so well, and it's just been a really rough start for them.
Absolutely. I mean, again, to give it full credit to G2 as well, that was really an excellent game by them. A lot of question marks. Biggest org that we've got in Siege, for example, 2 changes coming in, not quite achieving former glory. There'll always be question marks around them. But at least based on that starting showing, I think things are looking pretty good for them. I think we should go over to the Desto team, so I'm very keen to hear if Leo has changed his opinion on Blaz at all, or if he'll say, you know what, give it a couple more days, and then we'll see. So let's throw over to the desk now.
There's an ace. Thank you very much, you sexy bastards. We have just seen our third matchup done and dusted. Consulate, G2 absolutely flying. They said it was levels above confidence there, fresh. And it was like G2 showed it, that dominance, that level of dominance right from the get-go.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved the first 2 rounds, the start that G2 had. They went out with one intention, and that intention was to shell shock the shit out of Fnatic. And that's exactly what they did. The run-outs, the jump-outs, the aggression. And what did Fnatic get in the first 2 rounds? It was just Deepak there picking up exit frags. That was the only thing that they got. G2 then reined it back in. They played close, they played tight, they played together. They really had Fnatic guessing the whole time on their defenses, and they got a 5-1 Consulate split. After that, it was really only a matter of time, because we know G2 are good at attacking Consulate. This one wasn't just a game 1. This was utter domination by G2, and it all happened in the mental of those first 2 rounds.
And Doki still loves it. Look, he just absolutely loves it. Leo, I'm sorry, I've had to cut you off here because there's something wrong with your mic. I think maybe Fresh blew a fuse when he said shell shock the shit out of them.
Yeah, I think maybe I did,
Yeah, but just to pick up on the dominance piece there, they just, like, Fnatic really looked lost. They couldn't ever really find their footing, could they, Fresh?
Yeah, no, I had hopes. I won't say high hopes for the Fnatic roster, but I had hopes for them. And the one thing that I will say out of them is that they looked lost. They looked like they were misreading in the attacks and the defenses. They looked like they didn't control any of the pace, whether they were attacking or defending. They tried to play shields. It didn't work. We saw Leon die on a blitz. We saw Leon die on a Monty. Opening defs, just nothing went right. That was ultimately a horrible, horrible day for them.
Leo, we can hear you now, so tell me what you thought about G2.
Yeah, no, I was just saying in general, like, you could see that gameplay and that playstyle coming in just in the ban phase. Who bans Dokaebi? A team that wants to be so aggressive that you don't find them when they roam. And that's something exactly that happened. Now, about what you were saying about Fnatic bringing shields, they were trying to find a problem. They could not get into the building, so they brought shields. And I would argue that at some point it even worked. Round 5, they bring Monty. They're in a 5v3 position. and they should expect G2 to get aggressive. They should punish that, and they don't. Once again, they let their teammates down, and they lose a 5v3. And that was something so consistent that disappointed me is the lack of direction, the lack of confidence that we saw from them, and then the lack of understanding. We need to be able to punish the aggression here.
Back to the positives, Loira. First game in EUL, signed a few months back, left you feeling super impressed.
Man, we were thinking about pressure before. We were saying that a young player like this, joining a big emblem like G2, it must be a lot for him. Evan coming from Brazil. And I was so impressed by him. He was so confident in the gunfights that he was taking. I remember him at the beginning on defense with this boss G, just picking everyone from outside. Overall, super impressive gameplay from here, and I can't wait to see more from him, to be honest.
Thank you very much, Leo. Good point there. Loira looking strong in his first game here on Playday 1 at EUL. We're standing by now, me and Fresh, with this guy. Doki joins us live on the show. Doki. You scared yourself? It's like looking in the... It's like when you first step in front of a mirror in the morning when you're brushing your teeth. No, Doki, welcome to the show, mate. It's good to have you here. That felt pretty easy for you guys.
Yeah, it was easy. Yeah, don't know what they're doing. Picking our best map. Very weird. Very weird.
Doki, we spoke earlier, and you said to me that you felt Fnatic was a good game for you guys to go against first. How come you felt that?
I don't know. I just think like they also have new players on the roster, right? I think they are definitely more nervous players on their roster than us. Like you highlighted Loira saying like he's a new star and a lot of pressure on him. The guy doesn't care. He's playing Rocket League to warm up for his EUL game. Like he doesn't care. He's just good at the game and he loves playing the game. So it's like there's no pressure for him. He's just playing. So I think they had a lot of pressure, and I like to play against that. And we're better than Fnatic. So
I might need to get Loira in my stack. But then, sorry, just a quick one. Is that why you then played the way that you did in the first couple of rounds? Is that why there was the boss G spawn peak? Is that why there was the run out from Loira in the very first round?
I mean, we practiced Fnatic like a little bit, and they were playing that way, aggressive in scrims. I think we practiced them with a slightly different roster like, of theirs, but still the core of the same team. So they were playing like that, and we said, you know what, just throw it right back at them. Like, let's see what they can do to deal with it. So.
A new, different iteration of G2. How does this rank with the ones you've been a part of, Doki, and how confident are you?
Yeah, I'm really confident. Like, obviously, I can't sit here and say, oh, it's better than our previous roster because we won the bloody World Championship with that team. But I absolutely love our lineup right now. I think we're going to go far. I said to Fresh in DMs as well, like, just give us a little bit of time. Let's play. We have a hard game tomorrow against BDS, so let's see how we fare there. That's a good test. And Blaz and Loira are just great additions to the team. Like, both are insane players. Like, Blaz is always going to keep the mood up. Like, I've never seen the guy in a bad mood once. Unlike other people, Alamo. But no, I'm only kidding. But yeah, like I'm just having a lot of fun playing, and I think that's the key to success, right? Just enjoy it what you can.
Absolutely, Doki. Thank you very much, and congratulations on your win. You're probably not going to like the next thing I'm about to say, but we will see the best team in all of EU competing up next. BDS are taking on Wild.
All right.
See you soon.
All right.